Welcome to Commercial Kitchen Chronicles, the podcast dedicated to the commercial food equipment repair industry. My name is Pat Finley. I'm a lead master certified technician at General Parts Group. My goal is to shine a light on what I believe to be one of the most interesting and rewarding industries a field service technician can work in. I love the work I do, and I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast. In this episode, we talked with Charlie Neuman of FAIM Distribution about water filtration and more. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Commercial Kitchen Chronicles. Tonight, Jason Latimer and Rich Ortega and myself as special guests. We have Charlie from Filtration and Ice Machines. So what's going on, Charlie?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Glad
coming
to be
on
for a fun evening of talking about water filters and all the crazy equipment you guys have seen with some poor water conditions.
And great water conditions.
And great water conditions. I guess you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
mostly poor where
Depends on where you are in the
Florida.
country. Yeah. Pat, you probably see a little bit better water out by you.
It's straight lines.
Oh, yeah.
Indiana's like.
How about you, Rich?
Here the water quality seems to be not as bad. When I was in Florida, water was destroying everything, and people didn't, want ice. They didn't want filters and stuff on their equipment. And I'm like, watch how much better your ice maker runs when I install this filter on the back, and you've actually got clean, pure water, flowing into your ice machine.
Clearing out that water inlet valve like every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Florida. I'll speak for Florida, Rich. Florida's horrible, like you said. And I got
municipalities.
I'm dealing with.
What you're thinking.
I'm dealing with a couple locations that they change their filters every 3 months, and when I come back, the whole thing is completely scaled over, and I'm just like, if you didn't even have a filter, good Lord, I mean, how do you change the filter every 3 months and this unit still look like that?
Wow. So
these are commercial buildings that they're renting floors off of and whatnot. So I get it, and it's worse in Orlando. Now that I think about it, that's the worst area.
Wow.
And like we have to every 6 months.
Water.
Yeah, our water's bad too. But every 6 months we have to do a deep cleaning on top of the regular. That means detailing the outside of the machine also. With
any little bit of water that touches it is just pure white.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you could talk about some options that we could maybe present to the customers. Maybe reverse osmosis. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it to you, Charlie, to educate us.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for scale growth. Lime scale, which is 70% of all water issues. Yeah. Especially for food service, at least. The other 30% being like bacteria and Legionnaires, certain mold growth. But the vast majority of the time, it's lime scale. Polyphosphate, like you'd find on like a I-2000 or most 3M filters, really only good for like 10 grains per gallon of hardness, which is kind of common in the industry. That's pretty hard, but in the US, our water is pretty hard a lot of places. So a lot of times it'll only help, and it only coats and sequesters the lime scale. It doesn't actually like solve it. It just adds like a nice layer of grease, so it doesn't bind to the equipment.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
So I was under the impression it was just charcoal inside there, filtering the water.
Charcoal, yeah. A lot of the time it's charcoal and polyphosphate, and it depends on what you do too. There's GAC. There, no scale in my whiskey cubes. You're right, Taz. You don't want that.
Yeah, there's stuff floating in mine right now.
So you don't want to. It actually, it doesn't take the scale away. Reverse osmosis will, but that's an extreme. So there are other alternatives to polyphosphate, which is kind of an old technology that people are coming out with. There's weak acid resin or WAC resin, which a lot of companies are going to now. But if you've got already low pH water, which certain parts of the country is pretty bad, you can't really put it on because you got a corrosive element you're throwing into your ice machine. Don't want to pit your evaporator. So
it'll eat the nickel right off of some of these.
Yeah, I can. I mean, if it's as long as you got a high enough pH, you're safe. But I wouldn't put it on anything below like 7 or 6.5. Just not to risk it. I mean, you might get by, but why would you want to, take that chance? So another option you could do is go in an alkaline route, which there are a couple options out there for that, and you could do that through reverse osmosis, and then add minerals back into the water, which is a little more expensive, but honestly, it's the best way to do it. You guys run into that a lot?
So, unlike, I've never seen an RO on an ice machine, but I know most ice machines have a probe system. I mean, some have flow, so generally most have probes, so you're going to have some sort of hardness in there. I know in my area, average water hardness is 12 to 20, and I've seen it as high as like 26 in some areas. I mean,
yeah,
Indiana is gnarly.
Yeah, 26, that's pretty bad. We run into that a little bit out by me in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of lime sheet all over the place. Just calcium carbonate as far as I can see. So a lot of the time out by us and a lot of parts of the country with bad hardness, we use a product called citrine, which is made in Arizona. It's a citric acid blend, so that's a little low pH, but you can get up to 24 grains per gallon with that, and you don't have to use RO. And instead of sequestering, it uses a formulation called chelation, which takes the scale off of the evaporator, and also it puts a layer of itself on the ice machine to keep scale growth from forming for the duration of the filter's life, which is normally 6 to 12 months. Depends on how bad your water is. But it's also pretty common on steam cookers and even combi ovens too. It's starting to get pretty popular.
So is that like I know some brands have like the scale stick. Is that like the same type of system?
Yeah, it's similar. The scale stick uses polyphosphate or orthophosphate. And that's good for up to 10 grains per gallon or so. But put some citrine on. And it looks similar too. It's a white powder. It's good for a little higher, up to 24.
Sweet.
So, I'll have to send you guys after this. You have to get me your addresses. I'll send you a pack. You could put it in your dishwasher.
Heck
clean
yeah.
it out.
All right. So when you talk about grains per gallon, what exactly do you mean? Because I have no idea what you're even talking about.
So you might also know it by parts per million, or but grains per gallon is the American way of talking about scale. There's each grain of calcium carbonate. It'd be 1, and then it goes up per grain in a solution. I'll have to get the exact amount of water it takes, like surface area, to calculate the grain for you, but it's a pretty small amount.
All right, gotcha.
I think it's like a milliliter or less.
He said the American way. We got to do things
the
our
American
own
way, baby. Yeah, grain per gallon. So,
all right.
Over in Europe, it's per liter, but and it'd be 17.1 ppm. So if you ever had to do the formulation, 1 grain per gallon is 17.1 part per million. Gotcha. So if you had to do some quick math,
nice.
Because some people in the field run into that. Yeah, there you are, Jason.
So you do filters for everything, food source.
Yeah, we do
beverage, ice, combi, steam.
Ice. We do a lot of coffee. We do a lot of dishwashers. So if you're not using a chemical solution, like let's say instead of Ecolab, you don't have a lot of like chemicals going into your dishwasher, and you're running into really bad hardness all the time. We use Citrine and dishwashers, and they work great. Big conveyors.
So does
Up
that
here in
burn,
the Northeast, it's pretty popular.
does it burn through a lot more filters and chemical being hot water, or does it do pretty well?
Yeah, definitely in hot water. Anything like in a steam cooker, you guys have probably seen the glass just coated in white. Especially bad from all the heat.
So the
And
combi ovens. So you're talking like the combi ovens, like if it has a boilerless system, it spritzes water onto the elements or heat exchanger and creates a steam. And that's really where you see that white chalky film. It's all over the metal, but that glass, something about that glass composition, it sticks to that glass before it sticks to anything else. And you just if you're not treating that water on those combis, you won't be able to see them fast. So
yeah, it gets pretty bad. You guys see a lot of the boiler, the steamers with the boilers. Do you see those get pitted out a lot with calcium?
If the customers do what they're supposed to do, most of the combis that have a boiler are pretty much self-cleaning, and if you do what it's supposed to do, you won't have any issues. But the moment you don't do what it recommends, it's gonna build scale up pretty fast. And I think one of the guys in here, we know, he actually had a video this week. He had a boiler out of a combi oven that had a hammer and chisel beating the scale out of it.
Oh my god!
So,
wow, that's bad. Get some stalactites in there.
I used to do a lot of boiler-based steamers, which is like the old school technology where it had the big boiler base. It was either gas or electric, and then it had like steam cavities on top, and then it'd feed kettles. And I mean, these things would be so bad in my area that I'd go in there twice a year. This is a school, so it's only running, 8 months a year, a couple hours a day. It's just like it's used nonstop, and I'd have to go in there over like Christmas break and summer break or in between. I'd have to descale these things, and I'm literally putting them on a pump and letting that acid run overnight, and wash it. And they have
just breaking apart.
Yes, I mean filtration in this area it's so overlooked.
Yeah, I mean the initial costs can be a little daunting to certain customers, where filter systems can run, in the $200, $300, $400 range, all the way up to $1,000. But if you got a $30,000-$40,000 steamer, hard not to justify putting a filter on.
I think manufacturers should spec a filtration system with every unit they sell. I think it should be non-negotiable. I think they should do a pre-site water sample so we know exactly what's in that water instead of just doing a blanket generic filter to throw out there. Because some manufacturers use the same filter no matter where. I think it's in California, Nevada, New York, Indiana, Florida. It's the same filter across the board. And I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of like throwing a Band-Aid on it. I think.
Yeah, water everywhere is different. I mean, you drink water and you're like, oh, it's the same everywhere, but it's definitely got a different formulation everywhere you go. And you never know if you got high iron. You got to do certain things for for iron, for example, you got to oxidize the water through chlorine to have it fall out of the water and then catch it afterwards. That's the best way to do it. But you wouldn't know until you put your ice machine on and your evaporator is all red. So that putting the right thing on ahead of time would save you a lot of time and headache.
I've seen that recently with the red mold or red stuff all over the evaporator.
Yeah, certain parts of the country get pretty bad iron. There's also pink mold.
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
We've seen every color mold in an ice machine.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah, that was Brett earlier. So I started waiting for it to come up.
Oh yeah.
He's
Brett's right.
Brett is a smart dude, and the stuff that grows in ice machines and bakeries, pizza places, if they make their own dough, those ice machines need to be stripped like every quarter and cleaned. If
bakeries and bars have the worst mold growth. I hate to throw everybody's favorite sandwich shop under the bus, but they gotta have the grossest ice machines.
They used to be worse. They used to be a lot worse than they are now. But
Yeah.
So do you do? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What's that?
I was gonna say, like ice machines. Like I know there's like some companies using some ozone or UV light to try and kill some of that stuff. Do you guys do anything?
Yeah. Yeah. So we helped pioneer Biozone back in the day. Back in like 2008, 2009. Got that onto the market with everybody's favorite sandwich shop and a few others. And ozone definitely works. It's effective. There are a little more reasonably priced options out on the market now that I would justify. But that works. There are other ways to do it too. UV is fine, but the issue with UV is if it's not close to the area that's getting the yeast, anything the light's not touching is gonna just grow like crazy. Yeah, luminize.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
that's the same.
Chick-fil-A is using an ozone system. I'm not sure which one they're using now, but it's standard on all their bins now.
Mm-hmm. I really like the Pentair Oxidize. That's great. It's got a little bubbler stone, 6 settings. For you can do small ice machines up to like 2,000 pounders. Throw it right in the trough, and that thing takes care of the water and the air. So no yeast, no mold growth. It does have a little bit of an odor, and yeah, the plastic degradation is definitely an issue. You're absolutely right, Dave. Certain ice machines, a little hard to recommend. The ozone, so you might want to look into just a low dose, which is nice with the Oxidize, but certain ones you can't meter, so you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, no.
If you got a really bad smell, it's too late.
I know ozone's bad about eating some stuff because, like, it's been popular in the hunting gear game for years.
Yeah,
because it kills the bacteria, and the bacteria is what creates smells. So, like, these guys go hunting, they have these ozone generators, and they throw them in their totes or whatever, and it kills the bacteria, and it works great because there's no smell. But it eats like the elastic in the pants and the shirts stuff up. So
yeah, we did try out company. They stopped doing it, so I can say who they are. They're Air Oasis. They made this product called the Bipolar, and we had to test it a whole bunch of places. It uses positive and negatively charged ions to kill the bacteria, or that's what it was supposed to do. Was not as effective as we wanted it to be in testing. It still worked up to like 80%, but you really want it to hit up that upper quintile of bad bacteria, or else it's not really something you want to have. Unfortunately. So that's not the way to go, but it works great in it works great in small cubers. So
sweet.
Not the big one.
So you got
I really like chlorinators. That's my favorite. They're a little expensive to upkeep, but still great because when it hits the evaporator, it just turns into a gas and it doesn't even touch the ice.
What's that called? Chlorinator?
Chlorinator.
Oh, chlorinator.
Yeah. We do one called the Biotech, and it puts just 0.4 parts per million of chlorine into the water, which is enough to kill bacteria and not cause any issue with the ice machine or the ice.
Yeah,
nice.
Good to know.
Pretty popular.
So, real quick, I'd like to. I don't know if you're already going to ask this, Pat. How he got into this and his background. How'd you get into this industry?
Sure. So it's I'm actually in a family business. So I've been kind of brainwashed since I was 9 years old with water filters. I didn't start off like working in the company, but I'd be there all the time every summer. So then I eventually just found myself working there, and then I never left.
Cool.
And I got real passionate about it.
So what'd you start off doing there? Just kind of, was there technicians? Was it all
packing and shipping?
Okay.
Mostly. We do a lot of shipping across the country for various water filters. We do Everpure, 3M, Selecto, Systems 4, and a lot of other brands that have gotten swallowed up over the years through acquisitions.
Yeah. Through acquisitions.
But and then I gradually through college transitioned into a more sales role, and we work with a lot of technicians, so I'm able to go out into the field and talk with guys and work with the people that are changing out and seeing what's going on with the equipment firsthand, which is nice.
Nice.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, and then and now I'm still doing it. But now I do a lot more equipment too with Istro, which is nice.
Sweet. I've heard of Istro. I haven't seen any in my Indianapolis market. We're not really big warranty company for ice machines. It seems like they go with a lot of smaller guys around here. So we do a whole lot of
What was that? Sorry,
Rich, you do a bunch of ice machine warranty, or just have the warranty pretty much?
You broke up. I don't know if that's me or you.
Oh, that's Rich. He doesn't.
If we do any ice machine warranty,
it's probably me. My internet's being. Yeah,
I think you asked about ice machine warranty. Nah, we don't do a lot up here. I think I'm pretty sure the only ice machine warranty we do is Follett, and I think that's mostly because we do the Chick-fil-A stuff. When I was in Florida, I did a ton of ice machine warranty for Manitowoc, the company I worked for. We were distributor certified for Manitowoc. We did Hoshizaki, and then there was a small company. They're actually headquartered in Spain, but they got a distribution in Orlando called ITV. And I did all their warranty work. I've mentioned this before, but I was like their interim service manager while they were between service managers, and I was still running service calls. I had done so many of their service calls and knew their machines so well. They're like,
guys across the country were calling Rich.
Yeah, they were like, hey,
they
were like, hey, we'll pay your company a little more, and you'll make more too if you can answer calls while you're running calls until we find a new service manager. But yeah, I used to love ice machines. What is the deal with Istro? Because I've seen some stuff about them. I haven't seen them here. I don't know anything about them. Like, where are they made? What's their specialty? Georgia? What's their target market? All that.
South Korea. So they're a South Korean company. Started in 1981. Didn't actually start doing ice machines, which is funny. They were doing ice cream at first, and then they transitioned into ice in like the mid 90s, and then they started coming all over the world, and then they actually didn't arrive to the US until around 2015 when our current president of Istro decided to bring it over to America and start pushing the line. It was an uphill battle for a long time. It still kind of is.
Ice machines are a tough market. If you're not Manitowoc or Hoshizaki, you have almost no respect in the ice machine industry. And then for somebody
it's
new
really
to come
hard
in,
to build that brand. So having a grassroots build up has been pretty interesting. Watching it go from 5-10 ice machines every couple of months to some gradually more and more and more, and now Jason probably sees them a lot or fairly more frequently in his market than he used
to. For here with my company Casper's, we stock them and they fly out, and especially during the pandemic, we were able to take care. What's he saying?
Oh, I didn't get you. Charlie and FAIM are their go-to filter recommendations.
Yeah. So I like Istro. A lot of the parts will look familiar if you guys haven't seen them. I believe they have a parent company that's related to actually a company Rich just mentioned. So they are tied in. So some of the stuff looks familiar. The ice thickness probe, the tray, the distribution water, all that looks similar. It's a lot simpler design. It's a lot easier to work on. And we go through them and we get them put out there. And you guys were really instrumental during COVID, where it was hard to get parts and replacements for those other two brands, but you guys really came through, and it's still going strong. And we have a lot in our warehouse, and they just get, first one in, first one out. We keep replacing them.
Nice.
But we got them. They're very popular here. And now I'm starting to notice a couple of other competitors in the area are starting to get on them too.
Oh yeah.
We were on it first. So
the key to the ice show, I think, is how serviceable they are.
Very tech friendly.
Our vice president, Jack Smithhart, he used to be service technician a long time ago, and then he started his own Manitowoc distribution company in California, and he's kind of seen all the aspects of the business within ice making. And when he got into this role at Istro, he's like, you know what? I've seen a lot of bad stuff. Let's make sure that the ice machines coming to America are very service friendly. He made everything accessible. On that left side panel, you can pop it open. Your high-low is right there, right in front of you. You can easily access the board. Everything's within arm's reach. You don't have to like reach over a whole bunch of stuff or get on top of it. You can just like, get in there and work on it, which is great. And everything is if it's not thumb, or if you can't open it up with your fingers, it's just a light screw to pop open, which is very, very neat. So I think Istro, at least for the service company, has made a good product. And
I think
it is good.
I think what they've done I think they came in pretty clutch during COVID and with the whole distribution issue and getting new installs and parts, that their grassroots, it's going to take them a long way. People are going to remember. I mean, they're right in the mix now, at least here.
I think it's cool. So
people, all these that have been put in, they've been sold with like a 5-year warranty as long as you get the filters, and we prepaid for those because we actually do that. And we're keeping them nice. But I mean, you guys have locked in some customers here that are probably going to just continue to go with you guys because there was a window, there was an opportunity. And then COVID really exposed that for a lot of big companies that couldn't keep up with distribution and stuff like that. And so good for you guys. We're a big supporter of you guys.
Is that warranty 5 years like head to toe? Because I know some of them do like 5 years on the evaporator, 5 years on the compressor, 3 years on the rest of it.
So it's 5 years evaporator compressor, but if you add a water filter, the Istro filter, you can get an additional year. So it'd be 6-year evaporator compressor and then 4-year parts and labor, which is helpful.
Yeah,
because my team does those, and the stores. And we're starting to do them in the Golden Arches now too. And we've been doing those extended warranties, and they're serious. Like, we make sure we have photos to back up everything just to make sure that there's peace of mind. It's all about customer service, of course.
And
but we want to make sure
it's expensive in those later years, with warranties. So making sure you're covered.
And we lock in the price of those filters now, and they buy those for the next 5 years, and we install them. So they get locked in.
Those PMs are great to have. And I mean, for a lot of service companies, it's still kind of money on the table on the filter side, just in general. Like, lock in a PM program on the equipment. Then you don't have to go out there as frequently for like heavy duty service calls, changing out the filters.
It was easy for us because I manage the PM department, so we just take care of it. So we don't even need a service technician to deal with it. We just make it part of our program.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, hopefully you guys see it in your market too, Pat and Rich. I will say Middleby bought Istro last year, so you'll probably see more and more as time goes on. But in your markets,
did Wellbuilt have Istro at one point?
No, Wellbuilt.
No, it was Middleby.
Yeah, Middleby got it. So
I get these juggernauts all mixed up.
I know. They had Manitowoc for a while. Actually, for a while. And then in order for Well-Built to get bought by what's Ollie Group, they had to cut Manitowoc or else they'd have a monopoly.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why that happened.
And bought
FCC
Manitowoc.
won't let me be.
Yeah. Pretty much. So now Manitowoc is Pentair, which is pretty neat. You know,
Really?
a lot of Uniteds
They completely
out there.
changed. Oh, for the filters.
Well, no, for ice machines. Pentair.
Their name's going to change on the units too?
No, they'll still be Manitowoc.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're still Manitowoc branded, but
okay.
And Pentair actually always, well, not always, but they do the filters now, and they kick 3M out.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So real quick, guys, before we go any further, I've heard 5 different ways to say that name. So I say Manitowoc because someone corrected me, and I used to say Manitowoc. So, and now I say Manitowoc because I got corrected. And I've heard both of you say it differently. Does everyone say that name differently, or is it just me? It's like no one has a,
I know when I called them for tech support back in the day, it was Manitowoc Food Service. So I said, okay, they said it's Manitowoc Food Service. That's how it is. When I was in Hoshizaki training, they referred to them as the Big M. When I was at the Hoshizaki factory,
the other Big M,
the Big M.
At the crane divisions,
their McDonald's were McDowell's.
I think they had a crane division, but I think when they became Manitowoc Food Service Group back in the day, they parted ways with the crane company.
I see. Yeah, there's a Manitowoc crane doing our highway up here on the intersection on Big Bend over here. And when I looked them up, because somebody was following them from our company, and then when I clicked on it, I'm like, this is like earth moving equipment, not anything to do with ice.
It was the same. They were
back in the day. It was the same company.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Anitis, who I don't think they exist anymore, they bought Manitowoc Food Service from.
Yeah, I think Manitowoc. I think Manitowoc bought like half the industry, and then Enotis bought Manitowoc, and then it was from Enotis to Well-Built. I pay way too much attention to what goes on in our industry, as y'all can see.
Excuse me, man.
I'm not Wisconsin. I can't say it, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's Rich. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, subscribers.
No drinking, no smoking cigars.
And y'all watch your mouth. I've heard no cuss words.
I've been good, man. I got it all out before the show.
So yeah, that's right.
You guys do so if I have a water sample and I want to know what filter to use, do you guys do water sample?
Oh yeah, we do tests. We actually have a testing
kit
piece to our company now. So we do water tests, pretty reasonable. I think it's like $18. Send it in. We'll let you know what issues you got going on. We do grain per gallon and ppm on your hardness. We'll do iron, chlorine, free chlorine, and total chlorine, so you can get an idea of what your situation is. We also do permanent and temporary hardness, which there is a difference.
And then you'll recommend what products you have that would best fit that application based on that water test.
So usually we'll do like a basic, middle, preferred, and then a high end if you're really feeling an extreme RO. And a lot of times people will go for the middle ground, but if you got a really bad situation, you'll have to go RO. Or
why is that so expensive?
So yeah, the situation with reverse osmosis for food service is because it's so expensive because it's a lot higher flow a lot of the time. You have to make sure you have a lot of reserve water prepared for certain equipment, like a flash steamer. It doesn't happen all at once. I mean, it does happen all at once. It's not a slow trickle. Like you're not using a gallon per minute all the time. It's like all at once. You got to have 4 gallons ready to go. Every however long hour or so.
What? That's what kills me with the new rationale. I was just saying, name like because the old ones had 2 water hookups. You had the filtered side, you had the unfiltered side. Now it's 1 water hookup. It's doing cleaning and everything with that water. It's like, man,
the R95 CLs.
Yeah, they're running. Yeah, they're running those filters, and it's so much of it's just going down the drain. It's just like
I find it interesting that the manufacturers go so hard with the chloramine because not every municipality in the U.S. uses them. They're just doing it for like the 10% that have really bad chloramines.
One site that had to have it, and they didn't have it, and it ate all the wells out of a combi.
It's bad, yeah.
I'll say their name.
You shouldn't. This is where it comes back before, where you do the test ahead of time. Then you can put the chloramine filter on.
Well, this company uses tests, and you have to send it in, and it didn't get caught, or I don't know what, but yeah, it ate it ate the pins out that held the racks, it ate the seams, it ate the rack holders up. I mean, it ate this thing up. They say it has chloramines in the water, but it's not that bad. They say someone sprayed it in there. It's just a nightmare to go back and forth.
That ammonia mixture with that chlorine is brutal. That'll put your stainless like crazy.
Yeah, it kills water inlet valves. That's why so many water inlet valves go bad in Central Florida.
Yeah, there's a lot of chloramines in Florida.
So why do we all slap equipment in without any of that information? Like, why do we have to find out that way? Because I know what you're saying, Rich, with the inlet valves, they're just stopped up. You can slap another one on, it'll be down in a few months. In some instances, is it on the customer? I mean, are we not informing them well enough, or is this a cost thing where everyone just doesn't know what type of water you have? And then let me ask you this: if you test your water today, is it guaranteed a year from now that the water that you tested is the same, that the city's providing the same water, or do things change?
Definitely things change. That's a great question.
Maybe that's why it's like, well, it's just going to change anyway. I'm just trying to wrap my head around why.
If it was me, I would say, and this is from what I've seen in my time doing this and being involved in different sides of the industry, because I've been involved in the dealership side. I worked for a company that was a dealership and a service company. Yeah, a lot of times the dealer wants to get the sale, and because restaurant equipment is so competitive, the sale is who's going to give me this for the cheapest number. So if the dealer comes in and says, oh, hey, by the way, we should do a water test, and then, hey, you're going to need this filter system, and then this filter system is going to be $800, and then you're going to need to change the filters every 6 months, and you're going to need this, that, and the other. But before you know it, their bid, even though it's better for the customer long term, it's obviously several hundreds, maybe several thousands of dollars higher, plus additional labor, additional maintenance. So I think, and the initial part of it is the dealership. I mean, right now I'm going through a headache with a installation on a combi oven where they had an old school Vulcan steamer in the place, and there was no install kit. There was no nothing with it because the dealer, whoever they bought it from, said it was a like for like swap out. So no survey, no installation kit. The drain's not the right size. It doesn't have the right water. Nothing about the things is the same. But to get the sale, and maybe the dealer was uneducated, maybe part of it. But like I said, from what I've seen firsthand, a lot of times the dealers are just like, whatever gets me the lowest number, once I get the sale, that's the customer's problem.
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue, especially online sales too.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Webstron or KTOM, get a piece of equipment, and then customer gets it, slaps it in. They don't know what they got going on. They call you, then you come and check it out. See those water inlet valves.
I mean, in defense of that online company you mentioned, I mean, it's at the end of the day like Amazon or anyone else. They expect the customer to be somewhat educated and do some research or be advised well, and they're just, it's send it to the end user, and I get that. I don't, as a plan maintenance manager, I would like to be able to figure out how to offer because there's some customers that have horrible water. I don't know what to do about it because they rent their space, things like that. And some of them don't have food; they just have ice and water in their their employee lounge. And then the water starts to smell nasty or taste nasty, and then it's all scaled up. And I'd like to offer them some sort of solution or to help them out. And I don't know if because they have a certain brand piece of equipment and the filters also have that brand on it. And I've never seen another, they have the Manitowoc's have a Manitowoc filter. The Hoshisaki's have a Hoshisaki filter. I see one size. It matches, I guess, the gallons. But is there like a better tier filter for that piece of equipment that will help maybe relieve some of this scale and stuff like that? Or it's coming definitely. Either way?
I mean, unfortunately, those branded ones, it's kind of tricky because a lot of times you're dealing with a warranty. Like you got the Manitowoc filter on, you got the Isomatic filter on, you get certain benefits, but it might not be the right filter for the job.
Yeah, regionally and municipality wise, it might not jive.
So risking warranty over the life of the equipment is kind of a cost, or it's a situation that a customer's got to go through that they didn't intend to happen. They didn't think that their water was going to be so bad.
Are there any companies besides Isomatic, which I don't know if Isomatic still does it, but I know they did back in the day. If you bought their filters, you got extra warranty, but I don't know that any other manufacturer requires you to use their filters, do they?
I believe Middleby does on there, South Bend and Crown Steamers. Okay. I believe they have a filter program like that. The filters are expensive, but
that's how they're covering the warranty.
They do add the life. Yeah, you got to have them for the life of the warranty to cover the warranty. You know what I mean?
Stop keeping it real.
But to go back to what Jason was saying, I would think that's where Charlie's water test comes in and says, hey, you know what? I mean, it's cheap enough that I think as your company, they could say, hey, you know what? We think the problem is your water. Y'all could probably cover the water test for that location and then come back and present them, hey, look, this is what we found. This is why the particular filter system you have is insufficient. And then y'all could recoup that money you put out for the time and for the water test on the back end. Are you going to get, you're not going to get everybody, obviously, but there are going to be people that say, well, yeah, I've had this problem for 3 years. Nobody else knows what it is. Let me go ahead and try this out. So that's what I would do if I was in your position, Jay.
Yeah, it's a big benefit to know what situation you got with your water. And, you brought up a good point earlier, Jason, too, where you don't know today how your water is compared to a year from now. The municipality could change something, or they could get somebody new on the team. They might not put certain chemicals or certain materials in the water that help, or maybe they add something that's bad. There's a lot of things that with water that can get tricky.
So then there's really no such thing as a generic filter, at least not that is really going to provide what the customer needs in terms of filtration with everything you're saying, or am I thinking too much about that?
You can get as close as you can. It's to what your customer needs, and finding that sweet balance of getting right by the mark can be difficult. And I've messed up before. I've recommended a filter that hasn't cut the mustard, but over time you figure out, hey, this works here, this works here, this works here, and then you put it all together. You can kind of figure out generally what's going to help a situation that your customers got an issue with, and then going down in the future, you might have to add something to the line or take something away. That's why it's nice to have maybe like a drop-in system or
can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. So, a drop-in system is like a basic head with a bowl that you can just twist off, and
I've seen those. Okay.
yeah, you get let's say your customer gets a whole bunch of sediment in the water, and they had a little paper filter. You could add a pleated filter, get a whole bunch more surface area, and then cover that sediment that previously wasn't there but is there now. For example, or maybe they got chloramines now and they didn't have it before, and you just had a carbon block. You could put a chloramine filter in that drop-in thump, and then your customer is safe again for the next 6 months. So things like that can make a big difference. And you could do that with quick connect ones too, like what Hoshizaki or Everpure have. There's a lot of filters now, and they don't have to be Everpure, that fit right into that head that that can take care of new issues that are coming out, like forever chemicals, or all the crazy stuff that's getting put in the water.
You said forever chemicals?
Yeah, PFAs. That's a upcoming issue.
I've heard that. I've heard that as of late. I've been hearing that more and more often.
Yeah, so like for people like us, GAC or common filters that you already put on the equipment can take 90% of it, but some of it's still getting in. But having a filter on is crucial to at least cover most of it. And those are starting to be tested too. We're starting to see that more and more now that those are getting into the water systems.
Yeah, that sounds scary.
And people are realizing.
So forever means it's forever in your body or forever in the system?
Forever in the system if it's not filtered. So it'll just always be there.
Someone said that forever chemicals. I'm like, oh, that's like lead or something.
For life, No, you can treat it.
We're gonna die.
It's not like on cable news where it's like you're gonna die if you drink the water in your house.
Film that. Yeah, we'll talk about it at 11 o'clock. But in the meanwhile, keep drinking.
We'll talk about it.
Filmed at 11.
No, you could filter them, but you got to know how to.
I have a hard time with customers, buying in the filter thing, but yet, they complain we have to come out and descale. They complain we have to come out and clean their ice machine. It's like, the cost of the filter may seem like a lot up front, but it's going to save you money in the long run. I'd rather clean an ice machine once a year than clean it every 3 months. I mean, so
definitely
we, as an industry, do a bad job really, pushing the filter thing, because, I mean, some people think, well, I'm not going to get as much work, but I'd rather have the customer happy that they're not calling me often, So what if I have to sell them filters once a year or twice a year? That's an easy checkup. You go in and change filters. Hey, anything else broke? You need anything while I'm in here? Guys need to look at it that way versus going in, slamming a filter and leaving.
It's a long haul thing, right? Because it's like when that customer sees, oh, wow, my ice machine is not breaking down, maybe a quarter of what it used to. It's, Pat and GP, ever since they recommended the filter, my ice machine's working better. So yeah, it's one of those things that's a long haul play, but unfortunately a lot of companies are looking at the short term, and they want to see, think about it. At the end of the day, corporate wants to see you in as many places as possible, as often as possible. And then they tend to lose sight of, like I said, that long-term play. For me, one of the things of pride has always been like, dude, you worked on this thing and people were coming in every 3 months, and you haven't had to work on it for 8 months. And it's stupid stuff like, for example, putting a filter on the ice machine or just basic little stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it plays a big difference, or it plays a big role in equipment's life. And, you got to see the results every day. Like, hey, I put this filter on. I haven't been here in 6 months. It's clean as a whistle, or it's got a little bit of scale. That's what you like. Oh, this is way better than like, this thing is caked. I'm going to be here for hours. I can't go to these other jobs.
Yeah, exactly. You go into
Charlie. Do you know why the cost of filters is so ridiculous? Because I've seen cutouts of these filters, and it doesn't look like there's anything crazy in there. There's like binded. There looks like there's a ball of yarn in the middle of it and some beads and stuff like that. And it doesn't look like rare earth minerals.
It's
I'm just
yeah,
curious of why in the hell is a filter got to be $800 and there's nothing.
it doesn't
great.
have to be. It's a lot of it has to do with
Then that's people cornering the market then with their brand on something that is common.
It's mostly branding
it's
because
private
again,
labeling.
yeah, I don't know what Charlie all carries, and so obviously I can't speak for him. I don't know what y'all's pricing is like, but I've seen good quality filters from unknown brands, but they were probably the ones making the filters for a lot of the brands, but they didn't have the branding. So again, this is back when I was in Florida because we don't do as many filters up here. I was putting in filter machines for names. Nah. But I was putting in filter systems for like less than half the price of the name brands, and it was an identical filter system.
Yeah, there's only a few factories out there, and you could probably on 10 fingers
you've had this conversation recently, Rich, and it wasn't about filters, but it's the same thing about the whole.
I mean, you run into it with parts, with with everything. Equipment. Even
if it wasn't a warranty thing, we would do the customers right. But
yeah. So those branded filters, whatever brand.
Uh-oh. He muted himself.
Yeah, I thought it was me for a sec.
Oh, I think I can unmute him.
No, I don't know what he did. They won't let me unmute him. There we go.
There we go. We're back.
Yeah. I think we both clicked on it at the same time. My bad. So where were we?
But yeah, anyways, so branded filters, 3, 4, 5 times the cost of what it should be. A lot of the time, with some exceptions. There's some good ones out there that keep it as low as they can, which is nice. Certain ice machine manufacturer, but there are a few Istro okay too, but they're expensive. But it's a different story. But there are a lot of companies that extort on the prices when they don't have to. You can get a drop-in system a lot of the time for $150, $200, and it'll do the same thing as $500, $600 filter.
Yeah, like I said, we used to put some in the company I was in Florida, and with the price point, we got very little resistance because again, it wasn't $800, $900 a system. It was like, this was years ago, so I don't remember, but it was like, the $800 big name system, and then the brand we were carrying was like less than $300 for like the whole system, and then they could get both cartridges replaced for I don't know, a little bit over $100 or something like that every 6 months. Like it was crazy. It was super reasonable.
So that was like a long time ago.
It was I would say as recently as maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, so not that long ago.
We do a lot of retrofits at FAIM when possible. Like we'll quote out like a brand, and then we'll say, hey, you can put the same thing, a different filter in that same head for like X, 20, 30, 50% less. And you'll be just as happy with it. A lot of times they got more performance or more capacity, a higher flow, lower micron. There's a lot of benefits to certain retrofits out there. You just got to know which ones are the good ones. There's some trash retrofits that you don't want to put on your ice machine. And they got a really great sounding price, like $10.99, $15. You could throw this on your 2,000 pound ice machine. It's not going to do it. You're going to blow through that in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But there are some good ones that are reasonable.
Let me ask you a novice question here, and this might be a dumb question, but what's the restriction in water going through a normal water filter? Should there be none for the most part?
Yeah, shouldn't. there shouldn't really be any restriction.
So can you double up, triple up on them?
Yeah, parallel plumbing would be the best way to go. So most heads today that you put on your food equipment that are recommended for food equipment are parallel. So you can get, let's say you got to have 3 gallons per minute. You put a filter designated for 3 gallons per minute on each head, you're going to get that flow. If you go series, then it hits that filter and then bam, it stops, and then it goes to the other filter and bam, it stops, and you're lowering the flow. You might only get 1.5 gallons per minute out of that.
That could definitely. I know some brands, you can just look at the pressure gauge on the filter and know what's going on for some of these, and like, okay, you have we're gonna bypass this for tonight and come back with the filter tomorrow. Pull that extra ring, that extra O-ring off the top. You guys know.
Oh yeah. You posted that the other day, right, Rich? The top O-ring.
Nah, that wasn't me.
No,
somebody. I saw it somewhere.
I've done that plenty of times, though.
I've done that plenty of times.
That's what I call
documented it, because that's kind of a.
That's what I call the Hoshizaki killer when the filters are plugged up.
Yeah, I know. You got to do it sometimes. It's a great way to bypass. You just gotta let water in. I mean,
it's something we've never done. It's something we've never done. We're live. We've never done that before.
Never, ever.
We've heard it can be done.
I've always had pluggy bypass it.
It's a good. There's other methods out there too that are funny for filters, but that one's a pretty popular one.
As technicians, it's our jobs to get them up and going. We have every intention of coming back.
Absolutely.
It's when we find the bypass stuff after the fact and the ticket's been closed out, then we take issue with it. But
and the equipment's got to run. I mean, you got a busy. Let's say it's lunchtime. I mean, you got to have your equipment getting water, even if it's just for a little bit. If it's great.
I don't know if this is like wrong or not, or if it's like holding the customer over a barrel, but I've only ever bypassed them when they've okayed the new filters. If you don't okay the new filters, but I've told them, I said, here's the thing. I said, I can't bypass it if you don't okay the new filters, because when you start having issues from the sediment and stuff, I'm not going to be the one that's responsible, because you're not going to call up and say, well, you bypassed this filter. I'm like, look, it's Friday. I can bypass it, come back Monday, put a new filter in, you'll be all right. But I'm not going to be liable for damage that happens because your machine is bypassed for the next 8 months. No.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair. That's fair.
Got to make sure you got the filters lined up for that Monday.
I never thought of that, but I've done that automatically. I'm like, I'll bypass it, but I never thought, never said that out loud, thought that out loud. But yeah, that's good. Because I've come up on equipment and be like, the inlet water valve, well, let's check the filter. I'm like, Jesus, this thing's been bypassed. What's going on here?
This is messed up.
So back on test kits is.
Hey Pat, can you hear me?
While he's frozen over there, just tell us about the water test kits.
Oh yeah, so it's
how do we get that test for?
It's a sample vial. Sample vial. You can get 1 or 2 tests. Where you get the 2 tests would be the water inlet and then the water outlet of the equipment, so you can see what's going on, if there's already a filter on the equipment, if the filter is doing anything. Having a two-part kit can be helpful there, but if you're just doing a site survey and you're like, hey, gotta check the water, one sample's sufficient, and it takes maybe depends on how long it takes to get to us, but 4 to 5 days typically, and then we'll test it that day we get it.
So the inlet and the outlet, where do you? I can guess that the inlet is just before it gets to the filter, you pour it.
Yeah, before it gets to the filter.
So where do you collect the water for out of the trough, or where?
So if you got an ice machine, get in the trough, or if you can get even like let's say like the filter's got like on a QC7i head, like for i2000, they've often got like a purge valve afterwards.
Okay.
So you can activate the filter. You can get it there. It's totally fine. And then you can see what's going on, if it's working or if it's not cutting the mustard on the ice machine, and you can see what you need to put in after that.
Dude, talk about filter activation, because I feel like a lot of people don't know about activating filters when you install them.
I've never heard
So
that.
that's another issue. Not every filter needs activating now, which is nice, but there's still a lot of filters that need activated, like Everpure i2000s or MCs. You got to activate it at least 3 minutes.
Explain that process.
Yep. So I could even go into the history if you want me to.
Do it. Yeah.
Sure.
DuPont and Culligan a long time ago found out that this great technology is possible. It's called pre-coat. And
pre-coat.
What it does, pre-coat. So there are carbon fines and carbon at the bottom of this filter. I'll just do the i2000. And there's a bag and paper in this filter, and the carbon will shoot out and go all throughout the lining of this filter, and creates a it's kind of like a light carbon block, sort of, that lines the whole interior and the bag, and allows for maximum coverage. But in order to do that, you gotta run water through it and let it soak in, and that's where the activating comes in. So you can get a sink, or with the i2000 with the QC7i head, you can purge the water, and you'll notice when you do that, carbon fines will come through, and it'll look a little messy at first. And then once the water starts to run clean, then it's activated and you're ready to go. You can let it run to your equipment. You won't have any carbon fines touching your inlet valve, which would suck because it'll clog up, which I'm sure you've seen before. And then you'll be good for 6 months.
So those carbon fines, that's like when you have a machine that's on a filter system and the inlet valve, for example, is plugged up, and you see like this grainy black stuff plugging it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I've seen that. People like, I put a brand new filter on it. How's it plugged up? I'm like, did you flush it for 10 minutes before you connected it to the machine? Huh? Like, yeah, that's your problem. So now we're gonna get new filters again. Yeah, new filters, a new valve, and we're gonna do this the right way this time.
And even, I hate to say it, but even when the filter says activated, you're better off acting like you're activating it, because there's still gonna be some, through shipping, carbon fines will get knocked loose, or something will happen along the way to you that'll cause some debris to come through the filter, whether intended to or not. And so activating is a big part of filtering, and it's the first thing you do.
Mm-hmm.
So when we change out filters, we run it for like 10-15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's the activating that you're referring to?
Yeah, that's activating.
Oh, geez.
You're getting.
It sounds special. But
you're activating your.
We've been doing it. I just didn't know that was the
getting
description of what we were doing.
And
I was just like,
you should.
Yeah, we put a new filter on. Like, there's crap coming out. Let's just flush it until it ain't. So I didn't think it was that scientific.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't like that. Just keep running it.
The new ones aren't as much, but it was a science. I mean, when it first came out, it's like mind blowing, crazy technology. But now it's every day.
I dig the fact that you know that history.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
And then Everpure
that's a
got
level
it.
of nerd
they
I
bought
can
that
appreciate.
Technology.
Yeah.
And now they got it. They got the pre-coat brand, or branding, I guess.
So that's
they don't really
why
use it as much anymore.
That's why I think in every industry, like I went to Taylor for 2 weeks for the training for the grills and all their stuff, and I got to see a little bit of their R&D, and then I was just thinking, man, R&D is so cool. Like DuPont is known for refrigerant, obviously, and a bunch of other stuff. But but like you said, they figured that out because they were playing around in their R&D department. And
yeah, they're just messing around.
that's I think that's just pretty dope to be paid. I mean, I know these guys are chemical engineers and this and that, and they're playing around with chemicals and testing things, but you're literally just playing around and trying to figure out what works. Like for instance,
It's
not
nuts.
related, Viagra was a headache medication, right? So messing around with R&D, that's extreme. But my point is that I think R&D is pretty cool. I think R&D is pretty cool how people find things. You just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, and then if it doesn't work, you just keep doing stuff. And those companies that are older, like DuPont and stuff like that, a lot of this stuff was not intentional. They're just splitting atoms over here, and then
the other industries take advantage of that unintended R&D and then run with it, and then they become things we use every day.
Once the patent runs out, everybody has it. It's like generic
Everybody's
drugs.
got it. Yeah, it's true. And it hasn't been crazy on the new technology front besides reverse osmosis and using Wi-Fi with water filters these days. Yeah,
Wi-Fi water filters.
Yeah, like Optipure tried this a few years ago. It wasn't super hot, but a lot of other companies are trying out these days. Metering on the head with a couple of sensors to let you know, hey, here's what's going on with your water today. You got this many grains per gallon going in and this many grains going out. Filter's doing great. You got X amount of life left.
That's pretty cool.
It's expensive, but I'm sure it'll get cheaper as more companies get into it. But
before long, it'll be standard.
Yeah,
and then they'll add AI to it.
That's right. And then you guys will have to figure out, and me too, best practice for replacing them and all this. There's sensors now. I'm sure you see it in refrigerators.
I can imagine the Wi-Fi they're going off encoder counts and things like that.
Yeah, and you can't get away with using retrofits on those, because they got little market. I know sensors in there that you flip it and they're like, all right, you can start running water again. LK is doing that now on their water fountains. So that'll hit everybody soon.
Sweet. Well, we've been going for over an hour, man. I try to keep it under an hour, and we just keep going. So we're just getting a little long. I'd love to have you back on. We can talk about some more things in the water filtration, some other things you guys have to offer. But let's go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you and find the company you work for and what some of the services you offer. I know I'm probably going to hit you up on some water filter test kits because that's just
me too,
man. Especially if anyone's having a problem with water or scale buildup or any kind of thing. I'm definitely gonna be hitting you up for that, and then we can talk about setting some filters up and stuff like that. So where can everybody find you, Charlie?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. I'm Charlie Neuman, or LinkedIn, also Charlie Neuman, Neuman, and I'm on there quite a bit. I used to do a series called Water Filtration Wednesday. I've got a YouTube channel which I can post in the comments, going over all types of water filtration. And you can find me at FAIM Reps. Our website is faimreps.com, and happy to talk about any water filtration issues you got. Just hit me up. You don't even have to buy from me. I'd love to talk.
So I will post a link to FAIM Reps in the description of the podcast form. So if anybody's listening or watching and wants to find them, the link will be in there. So I appreciate you coming on, Charlie.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Have a good night, guys.
Yep, you too.
All right, y'all.
If you guys would, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. It really helps us grow and helps us know which direction to move in. Also, if you have any suggestions for guests, please email me at commercialkitchenchronicles@gmail.com. Or if you want to be a guest, email me. Love to have you guys on. Thanks a lot. See you next week.